Hi guys, Ashley here. Today I'm bringing you one phenomenal guest, Qimei. She is in fact been watching Chinese social media rising since back 2011. Already in 2011, she wrote her graduation paper on Chinese social media industry and she's joined Sina Finance in 2011. That was exactly the time when Sina started putting their news and basically introducing their microblogging site. So she watched social media through Weibo being born in mainland China. Later on, she got involved since already 2014 in the live streaming industry, and right now she works closely with live streaming industry on both mobile and PC, and she's observer of the whole China live streaming and social media market. Qimei, it's phenomenal to have you on the show.
Thank you, Ashley. So honored to be on your show.
First question I have, let's talk about some of the players in the Chinese live streaming market. We all know that live streaming right now is very big, and everybody's talking about Alibaba, everybody's talking about, well, basically Taobao Live, everybody's talking about Douyin, and right now more and more people are talking about Kuaishou. Can you briefly give your take on these three companies, and if there are any other companies that we must know, who would they be?
Yeah, so first of all, I have to say for mobile live streaming is quite different stage, in China compared to anywhere else, because as you observe, people in China literally hop onto mobile live streaming directly past, from the sort of like a PC period, right? So right now on their mobile phone, they are getting used to watching Taobao, watching Douyin, and watching Kuaishou on their daily life. It's part of their life now. And I think you absolutely touch base on the three major players, especially for Kuaishou. I think they are literally catching up as an underdog, to be quite frank. I was very impressed and see how they can grasp the market share little by little. I think the nature is quite different, because when you think about going to Alibaba, going to Taobao, you are thinking about going for shopping, right? Like you want to get on directly because you are going there for shopping. But for Douyin and Kuaishou, I think it's quite different, because that's more like an entertainment tool at the very beginning. You sort of kind of unconsciously did your shopping behavior while you are enjoying the content on self. So that's a very interesting sort of segue, when you look at the market. I think other player we can mention is definitely more traditional live streaming platform. If you saw YY and the other platform, but that's not to a degree that really grasps the market share so far, especially in this year. Yeah.
And there are so many types of live streaming. Let's talk about them. For instance, we've got game live streaming, like so gaming, somebody's recording that. We've got live streaming when it's pure entertainment. So you're being silly in front of the camera and people give you essentially gifts and tips, and that's how you're making a living. There is e-commerce live streaming, and there are big ticket live streams where the boss of a company joins and basically sells their products. Can you quickly walk us through all these different business models? Because sometimes when you talk about live streaming, it's just overwhelming, and a lot of people from the West, they do not understand what's actually going on in China in that space.
Yeah, so from the very beginning, especially based on the infrastructure of our, the mobile especially the infrastructure of how the mobile being adapted from 3G to 4G to right now 5G. We literally experience how you use the phone just to share the short video graphic. And then turn into live streaming, and then integrate live streaming with e-commerce. So literally our how this being transformed is literally through the infrastructure of our mobile devices, right? So at the beginning, people really just want to grasp a short video, and their behavior stopped there because they just want to find something fun, and they would love to share. You saw people share on Weibo, you saw people literally share on WeChat, even just directly through text messaging. And then you have the second stage where people start to say, you know what, now they can enjoy the live stream. I want to bring a piece of my life to share with all the audience. So you have people literally doing the farming while they're sharing what kind of grapes this is, what kind of fruit this is, what kind of vegetable this is. Whereas you have the infrastructure workers share their work style, right? So it's literally open the door for people to really have that real time experience. And the third stage is really start. You have that one button away, because in China, what will be very different is that for US, we sort of don't really have a favor in terms of, experience the super app. But in China, it's so opposite. Like we want to have done everything within one app without leaving that. And of course, that's being preferred by the app, because then you grab people's attention and they can stay there as long as they want it, right? And finish whatever they need. So the namely super app will be Alipay, WeChat. You saw that. Same thing with the live streaming platform integrated with the e-commerce function. They want to make sure that button is right next to your screen. You literally can click it and finish your transaction and the shopping behavior without hopping on different, apps or different destination, which means, you might lose that sort of the customer or the user. So that kind of, integration is so smoothly, and by default, it makes sense by a business model, because if you think about it, what else they can do, and you observe what happened to Twitch, which had been bought out by Amazon, that's literally exactly the ecosystem that this gonna go. It's just really switch from PC to mobile, from a more like loose relationship to a more tied up and within app experience.
And China market in general looks very, very different, obviously, from the rest of the world, because they are miles and light years away. And of course, there's unique players. And as you mentioned, there are those unique ecosystems, because each app is a super app and they have the ecosystem of tons of things that they're doing together. And how do you feel that shapes consumer behavior? Because essentially, people are probably not hopping from one app to the next. How does the behavior within ecosystem impact like the bigger picture, right? Would it mean that ecosystems will just keep merging and we're going to have 3 main players in China in 10 years with those among us ecosystems, or are we still going to have some diversity? What's your personal take?
So I think I'm looking at this question from 2 scopes. One is really compared to, US and China. One is comparing like horizontally, look at the timeline, what's going on in China. So if you look at the in US, even the enterprise effort, especially namely like Amazon or, Apple, right? If they want to grasp e-commerce, which is, e-commerce and market, they are thinking about who can which platform there is for them to take over so they can gain more users to their shopping site. So that's why you saw, Microsoft is integrating Mixer, where people do the game streaming, and Amazon is doing the Twitch, right? So that's their little by little, you saw their behavior. But even you try their user experience, the UI UX, you will still find out that relationship is pretty loose. Like there's no one button away or like, within app experience. And mobile is to another degree a little bit weaker, where they focus on. So that experience gave a better sort of starting point for for Chinese company. But when you look at China, we literally talk about what you asked me the last question, how it transformed from a short video all the way to e-commerce plus live stream, maybe within 3 to 5 years, which is, if you want to consider that, it's like 10 times faster than US, if not, right? So coming to China market, you definitely have those big player, we call it BAT, right? Like right there in place in terms of ads revenue, in terms of market share. But then you observe all those, like upcoming ones like Kuaishou and Weibo, who is converting, and Pinduoduo, of course, who is coming out of their own business model, really try to compete with the frontier players, the sort of the dominant players that people would not think has opportunity. So I think having that e-commerce element as one of the, sort of playbook later on for all those upcoming companies, you don't have to be, part of a BAT or being incubated by BAT within themselves. You can be a startup, have a good business model, maybe at a stage backed or strategic partner with those big players. For example, Kuaishou, they literally partner with JD.com, which is well known for its logistics and the e-commerce, by, make sure after that button is clicked, your experience of receiving product and customer service still being catch up. So I think that's a very good example that you see those players have been play out. Same thing with the Pinduoduo partner with the Qimei too, right? So you saw how they are also taking advantage of what those big players, especially the logistics side, to make sure the experience is not just stop or being superb in front of the screen, but also behind the screen. Yeah.
That's beautiful. When we talk about BAT, so it's obviously Baidu, Alibaba, and Tencent. Right now, a lot of people say that BAT actually stands for ByteDance, Alibaba, and Tencent. What is your top, I would say, 3 to 5 companies in China that you would definitely recommend people to keep watching as the main architects of ecosystem?
Yeah, I will say definitely on top of my list is Kuaishou. The second will be Douyin, ByteDance. And the third is also probably one of them from, I would say actually Pinduoduo, actually. So the reason is this, of course, that's really just my personal understanding of the market. First of all, Kuaishou is being backed by Tencent. So financial-wise, money-wise, I think they're in a very good spot. And they are in a number 2, sometimes number 1 positioning in some categories. So you saw how those companies has a chance to really kind of compete and also have a right moment to be the leading position. And if you look at the data, I think Kuaishou just released half-year, report. It shows live streaming, e-commerce live streaming DAU has been increased, 70%. So that gave us the data to back that theory. I think it's very interesting to watch. And you also see Kuaishou how it's trying to expand globally. Very low key, because that's more like we call it the culture style is very low key compared to other companies. Douyin is really the technology-wise and innovation-wise, they are at the frontier. So you saw they test the water, and of course this week you saw all the news going on in US. They are in front of the tension no matter what happens. So that in a way really kind of shows that business model and it matters, because for a company like that size, that's worth people talking, right? No matter if it's some geopolitical reasons behind it. The third one will be Pinduoduo, is because after the pandemic and also you saw the economy slow down, people's consumption behavior will be somewhat downgrade, in my belief. That means people who used to shop for luxury, for other stuff, they probably will downgrade a little bit to their shopping behavior. So that to save money, to be more efficient. So I believe Pinduoduo's model, which is more facing to the we call it a second tier or not a metropolitan population, will have a very interesting time to watch. I think Kuaishou also grasped that market very well, because even before they enter e-commerce, you saw how they are specifically being known in the suburb and non-metropolitan area in China, especially in northern and some other area in the southwest, which is traditionally being considered not that advanced, economy in those regions. But you saw right now they partner with all those, regions to really kind of help underrepresenting groups in China. So that's another reason, because for me, I think China is such a huge economy that it's not compared to other countries where you have to leverage global expansion or foreign market to back up your business model in-house. So for China, even the first tier city will experience some, hiccup after economic wise, after the pandemic. You will have the second tier, third tier, some other region being activated to actually still boost that consumption. So when you see how Kuaishou, Douyin, and Pinduoduo is part of that conversation, it will be very interesting time to watch for the next half year to even longer period of time from my observation. Yeah.
That's beautiful. As far as I understand, you're also very optimistic about Kuaishou's live streaming. And while we're going through this boom of live streaming in China in general, where every e-commerce company becomes a social media company with social media functions and live streaming features, and every social media company becomes an e-commerce company also with direct one-click selling through live streams, Kuaishou has not been very much on the radars when it comes to, international news, etc. But a lot of interesting things are happening. So let's talk about Kuaishou for a second. How does Kuaishou challenge ByteDance? Let's talk about that.
So when you look at again, like I mentioned from the last question, in terms of the market share, Kuaishou is well known to actually presenting the underrepresenting groups in China. So their fan base and the consumer base is actually starting from the way in China standard, you know, second tier, third tier countries. But of course, if you look at those Weibo, the second tier, third tier is still humongous, you know, market for US standard for sure. So that base is actually very interesting watch, meaning when you look at the shopping, if I'm an e-commerce owner or if I'm selling a clothes start day one at this stage in 2020, you probably won't go to Taobao or go to Jingdong or go to any other site to open up your own store. The reason is reasons are very obvious. First of all, the top tier sort of celebrity, like, you know, Li Jiaqi and Wei Ya, they all grasp the traffic already, and the system and the platform has already decided who are the top players. And if you are a newcomer, it's like you are not an early adopter anymore. So for people like that behavior, they will not choose those traditional sort of dominant platform. Where else they're gonna go? If you look across that, where they behave the most, maybe it's the Kuaishou, because they used to see their peers in their village and in their community days before. It's the same way. If I say, Ashley, I bought this clothes the other day, do you want to try one? Probably will speak louder than you just saw a celebrity wearing that dress in a fashion show, right? Because that kind of persuasion and like a psychological behavior is so different. So I think that's why, you know, Kuaishou has that very sweet spot, you know, in terms of fan base and how they're adapting the ecosystem compared to e-commerce adapting, e-commerce directly adapting entertaining part. If you saw on Taobao how people shop right now, if we're doing live streaming, now they are inviting celebrities and making it more fun as a part of their shopping behavior. But imagine backwards. For Kuaishou and Douyin, those players, you literally coming here to be entertained and feel fun, at the same time being persuaded to do the shopping. So I think that experience is completely different. But if you look at the smaller category between Douyin and Kuaishou, like I said, Douyin do have a very major dominant factor, you know, in terms of market size and, you know, ads revenue. That is no doubt. But if you saw when Kuaishou adapting the e-commerce element, they move very fast. They literally announced it last year, and then in this specific niche part, Douyin is actually behind. And on top of that, you saw how this year, the number, like I shared before, has been catching up too. And then you add in more sort of celebrity and other festivals and partner with the different provinces. So you have that sort of official kind of a supporting system, you know, from both government level to the, you know, enterprise level. So I think that will be a very nice playbook to watch. So far, I heard a lot about a live streaming village, you know, seafood live streaming village where people literally, you know, catching the fish and literally go live stream on Kuaishou and sell it. And I also heard the Taobao village, you know, in the news cycle. But I will hardly say I hear anything called a, you know, Douyin village, because Douyin's market is not there. Like they are more focused on, you know, Beishangguang, which is Beijing, Guangzhou, Shanghai, those markets. So it can be very kind of niche and very top tier. Yeah.
No, that's beautiful. So what do people buy on Kuaishou? What are some of the categories, some of the products?
Yeah, this is something I find out very interesting too. So when you go shopping if you saw all those top, you know, like celebrity on Taobao, like Wei Ya and Li Jiaqi, they have a very limited amount of product to sell. We sometimes always use the word hunger sale, right? Like I tell you, I only have 1,000, come to, you know, grasp one, and everyone kind of fight at that one minute. You share that excitement. But if you look at what Kuaishou, what people are doing on Kuaishou, they literally shop as we talk. So I would tell you how much I have in store, and I'm fine with you just buying one, and I only sell 20. Because that relationship is very much like your neighborhood, right? You will never experience or expect your neighbor come here say, Ashley, I only got 5 left. You want to buy it now? Compared to say, hey, Ashley, I have another one. You want to try it? And so that kind of routine behavior and psychology is quite different. And of course, the excitement level is different too. So on Kuaishou, you can imagine anything they can buy. They can just literally buy a bottle of water or snacks, and what the people are producing during the video. Like I saw, like, and you know, like in China, it's very popular to have a 吃播, right? Like the eating live stream. So you're really eating the instant noodle and it feels so delicious, and they just buy 2 or 3. And if you saw the interface, is one very interesting that, for example, they also have the foundation and the back system to make sure if you are just an ordinary streamer, you also can choose from their Kuaishou store. Meaning I have the shelf, it's like a supermarket on the back end that you can choose to identify what you want to sell and build up your own sort of mini logistics system. But you can also make the choices, say, you know, what I got in back, right? Whatever I got convenient in the supermarket, I will sell directly. So you have that option and integration for people to choose, because sometimes I come for you because I like your voice, I like you, you are very persuading, then I can sell anything rather than I'm specifically just sell my the apple.
My own merchandise, yeah.
Exactly. So that's a very interesting integration, and you saw how they try to build up the, we call it, full ecosystem behind what's in front of screen, yeah.
Absolutely. And I know that Kuaishou has recently launched their report about, you know, the results and live streaming and e-commerce live streaming. So we see that actually a lot of different products were sold. We can see, obviously, rural areas are selling their produce. We see travel packages being sold. We see even government was live streaming to sell some real estate. Like tons of cool things. And here I'm looking at top industries entering the platform between January and June. So number 1, fashion. Number 2, local services. Number 3, home products. Number 4, automobile. Number 5, beauty products. 6, mobile and digital products. 7, education. So we can already see, you know, where this is going. Now, are there opportunities for international companies on Kuaishou? Because a lot of international brands are very skeptical. First of all, the ticket must be very low, just like with Douyin. Their best-selling products are below 100 RMB, and a lot of international players are saying, you know what, it's not worth the bother, to enter the platform, to hire the bloggers, etc. So what is your take on Kuaishou? Is there a space for international companies?
I think so. I definitely think so, because when we talk about international brand, we also talk about the really kind of a lot of consumer brands. It's not just, you know, high-end luxury brand in terms of high price tag. You also got, for example, what if it's just a soda? You know, what if it's just a bag of chips? It's also international brand. It also got, for example, milk powder, right? Like it can be that every mom shop for it too. The milk formula. So all those brands are considered international brand. I think they should definitely pay attention to Kuaishou, because on Kuaishou, the sort of effect of the word of mouth works much better than other platforms if they want to adapting sort of their direct ads or integrate the influencer program that on Kuaishou. So give the people better understanding. Again, that logic is really different from when you're putting ads on TV and put a celebrity there saying, buy this, you know, buy it now, and it's so great. It's really about the word of mouth that people experience, that this is just someone next to me that used it and really think it worked. I think the brand that we are, and by the way, I want to point out the interface of Kuaishou, if you look at it, is actually very ads friendly. So the tension that people looking at it, even compared to YouTube or compared to Twitch, you saw there's still a frame and you have to enter, and you have the option outside the frame to choose what do you want to watch. But if you look at what Kuaishou's interface, if you open the app, it's jumped right in front of your eye. That detail of attention and how you can grasp people's attention to push for shopping behavior is much more aggressive, natural, and more smooth compared to any other interface you had traditionally before. Same thing even with Taobao, because if you go to Taobao or go to other sites, you will get into a site that have a different option to choose. You can actually completely ignore the live streaming part when you enter the app. But if you do Kuaishou, it's actually all the people you are watching, it's right coming into your face, and you can see this is interesting and I want to stay here and shop. It's just so natural. So I think those are all very, very different instead of just another app or another kind of site, you know.
What is your take on the global and international expansion of Kuaishou? Are they gonna, follow the footsteps of ByteDance and, go in and take an international market and then potentially being, faced with the current issues that ByteDance is having? Or do you think that they're more focused on the local market and that's gonna be so for the next 2 to 3 years?
It's just my personal opinion. I feel like they got the best of both market. So in China, they just started. So you saw how when you look through the category, what's most popular in terms of the shopping list, right? You saw it's ranging from anywhere as a hardcore product all the way to the courses, right? Like more like not a physical product, like more online education courses, things like that. So you saw how their shopping behavior is also starting from, low end, more physical, under budget, all the way to like automobile, online courses, things like more, pricey, right? So domestically, I think, and also with the pandemic and also economic slowdown, I do think this is the right timing for them to grasp the e-commerce and really thrive. Internationally, to be quite frank, especially when we watch what's going on with ByteDance, I think none of us can even draw a conclusion at this point to say what will happen. But you saw that it's inevitable that it's just fact that this business model and the innovation coming from China is actually expanding based on how people receive it. You saw billions of people download Douyin. You say, Kuaishou is expanding globally too, like in Brazil market and other market, and also the Asian market too. So I think there's no sort of definition or a conclusion yet. I think this is just a very starting point. And also Zing's global expansion is actually a little bit settled and slow. Or in a way more strategic thinking, while ByteDance, for example, TikTok come to United States a few years ago, while right now you look at Zing developed from Oli is actually just coming out of the gate. So they definitely have that time to say, okay, let's assess what's going on the PR side, on the geopolitical side, and find the good market to expand. I have to say, although with this, chaos is, it is not a sort of stop sign for any Chinese company to look at the global market. It's just technology-wise and business model-wise, it's there. If not the US, it will be UK. If not UK, it will be other countries. So and if you look at also some the market that not talking that much, traditionally live streaming company is very good at to target on countries like Russia, in Indonesia, and also Brazil, like all those countries. Which has a huge population and very embracing social media and has a huge potential too. So I don't think with what's out there as a headline should stop what we're watching as a global market. Not to mention that the domestic market is still, I feel, it's strong and big enough to really still grow that number. Yeah.
And apart from live streaming and apart from, let's say, hardware like mobile phone, etc., what other categories are you personally watching when it comes to innovation coming out of China and going globally?
So I right now really looking at the short video live streaming for sure, just because my background is really looking at all different live streaming platforms, and also how big companies like Microsoft, Amazon, or BAT in China really try to either backing the small player or the new players, or how they funding them or even just acquire them. I find out this is very fascinating. Another thing is about, I also pay attention to see how the sort of MCN, more like, influencer, multi-channel agencies, those influencers works globally, because that's very tied up directly with the ads, with ads revenue and the ads industry. Because you saw how, in US, it's probably the most strict in terms of, FTC rules and how that's being played. But you saw because of Douyin, Kuaishou, and Taobao, there's more MCN coming out from Hangzhou, from Beijing, from Shanghai. and also in Shenzhen and Guangzhou. So I'm paying attention to those to see how those influencers play out, because a lot of influencers and those category of people want to hop on a global market. They don't want to just be most well known in Texas, in US anymore. They wanted, you saw a lot of celebrity or some of Wang Hong, right, from YouTuber literally move to China and go to China market to become celebrity there. So I'm paying attention to close eye to how that network is play out, especially how the brand is behind them and how they follow their steps. Because I think this might be a different wave compared to how traditional ads and brands try to adapt YouTube back, few or 10 years ago. I think this is a new period that brands think about how to adapt different business model, how to integrate their budget to a right category. Yeah.
That's gorgeous. Qimei, thank you so much. You brought so much value. We spoke about live streaming. We spoke about BAT. We spoke about the newcomers, Kuaishou, ByteDance, Pinduoduo. We spoke about Kuaishou live streaming as well. Guys, do connect with Qimei on her LinkedIn channel. Do watch her insights coming out about Chinese social media as well. And please stay tuned for more Chinese social media experts to come.